Hello, welcome back to Al Talks. This is episode number 6. In today's episode, It's something I heard on the Joe Rogan podcast. I think it was last year. He was talking about how Eddie Murphy was thinking about making a comeback to do stand up. Now, the last time Eddie Murphy did stand up was in his special which was in 1987. He hasn't been doing stand up or done any special since. That was his second ever special to do. His first one was Delirious. It's actually on Netflix. I think both of them are on Netflix currently. But I remember as a child looking at Eddie Murphy movies, and you can undoubtedly see that it's very, very funny. I actually remember one particular movie that he was in, Norbit, a movie where he played multiple roles. I actually remember going to the cinema to see that movie, and I thought it was very, very funny, especially how he played both the role of Norbit and Norbit's wife. Um, yeah, but Eddie Murphy's been in loads of great movies where he has shown his comedic talent. Recently, he was in Jerry Seinfeld's show on Netflix, Comedians. It's called Comedians Getting Coffee. It's actually called Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and he appeared in an episode of that. Now, I don't watch that show, so I haven't seen it. I just know he appeared in it. Now, he is reportedly signing a Netflix deal that'll be worth $70 million to do stand-up specials for Netflix. He, as far as I remember, Joe Rogan mentioned in his podcast that he was planning to do the comeback last year, previous to the pandemic. But obviously, the pandemic hit, so I don't know if he actually started preparing for the specials and not doing sets and whatever else. But I guess the future will tell. But I remember hearing the news on Joe Rogan's podcast and being very excited about it. Because, like I said, I've been always a big fan of Eddie Murphy. He's a very funny man. It'd be interesting to see, because, like I said, his last stand up was in 1987. It'd be interesting to see his views and take on comedy now. Because that's been, it's 2021 now. It's been a long, long time, many, many decades at this stage. But I think if you look at his movies, um, he still has that. Obviously, even he himself has talked about in previous interviews that he looks back at Raw and Delirious and thinks, because he was only a young man, I think he was in his 20s when he did Delirious, I think 19 or 20. He always remarked how it's very dated because it was a lot of homophobic jokes in there. Like he was walking on stage in Delirious and he was wearing I think it was a red leather jumpsuit. And he'd go up on stage and he'd walk around and goes, "You faggots don't be looking at my ass. I see you watching." And, he's remarked on that a few times and later because he feels that's very dated. But it'd be interesting to see how he would perceive today's society in his new stand-up special. So I'm very much looking forward to the special that when it comes out, whenever it may be, it probably won't be this year. Most likely in 2022 or 23. Another topic I want to talk about in last week's episode number 5, I talked about how what my plans were for stand up in the future, and I mentioned that I'm working towards a special, but in a recent podcasts I listened to, which was the Joe Rogan one with Ali Saddiq, sorry. It's episode 1606. He mentioned that he is uh, last year he recorded two comedy albums, and he was planning to be the comedian with the most albums. I think it's a comedian that has, I think, 13 or 14 albums. And it got me thinking that it might be better for me to record an album. Given with the current pandemic, it'd be a lot easier to create an album and then release that. Um, I don't know how I would really, oh, not how, but where I would release it, to be honest. That's something to think about in the future. But it was just an idea that popped into my head after the Ali Siddiq mentioned it. You should also check Ali Siddiq out. He's a very funny comedian. Um, he's somebody who works extremely hard, and it shows in his specials and all the work that he performs and does. Another thing that got me thinking was last year George Lopez released his first comedy special on Netflix. It's called We'll Do It for Half. It's very funny. But at the very, very start, he gets heckled. Now, as I mentioned before, I don't think I mentioned it the first time I got heckled. I was doing a bit. Yeah, it's basically the starting bit of my set, the very, very first set I did that was in 22nd of August 2019. I had this bit about like, I'm from Russia, but I was born in Siberia, which is in the Asian part of Russia. So I was doing a bit about, getting people to try and guess where I'm from, because there's this joke that all Asians look similar. Most people think I'm Chinese. But it was kind of audience engagement, and this one woman, good, like I told you, I went up last. She was very, very drunk, and I remember she shouted at North Korea, and I was like, I was a bit stunned, but the way she shouted out, it was kind of slurred and blurred, and like, oh. So on the spot, like, I was like, I did this whole impromptu thing about how they can't be North Korean because I'm tall, because North Koreans are generally not a tall nation. And I remember everybody in the crowd laughed. It did set me back a bit, but then later on, like in the last set I did, which was the 27th of February 2020, I was talking about how me and Damon were both being heckled by this American lady that came into the show, to the last two comedians, the very last part of the show when I was performing. But I was really stunned that someone like George Lopez has been in comedy for decades. He's been probably in comedy. Well, he has been in comedy longer than I've been alive. And for someone to heckle him, I thought it was really disrespectful. Whatever about people heckling me at open mics, that generally, I don't know how to put it. It's I don't know. You should do it, shouldn't do it. It's kind of, it would depend. The American lady that was that heckled me and Damon, that was kind of, I don't know how to. She probably shouldn't have said it, because I don't know what her agenda was. It just came off really strange for whatever reason, and yeah, I don't know. It was but that first time, that was I dealt with that pretty good. It was funny. I dealt with both heckles good as well. Yeah, good as well. So, well, but I don't know. I don't know. It was just strange. But I suppose that's part of the show, really. Um, um, I was still working on figuring out having guests on, like I was mentioning, my friend Kieran and Gary. That'll be in future episodes. It seems like every episode I say it's in the future episode, but that is definitely in the works. It's just, just trying to figure out a time and everything else and figure out this whole Zoom thing. Um, but I think that'll be very interesting to talk to them, especially with Kieran, because him being at the open mics as a performer, going with me several times to watch it, and then watching me perform once with on probably, well, not the best set I've ever done, but like I said, I didn't feel bad about it, because it was just a learning curve, and that was well. It worked out well in the end because it allowed me to restructure badly devised or devised a written joke into a better format, and one that's actually easier for me to say and perform, which has helped. I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I don't think there's anything else I want to talk about, but the album is definitely something that, as well, I don't want to rush this either. Obviously, want to do as many open mics as possible. If I could go and do, one, at least, even if I could do once a week or twice a week. I was planning on doing it twice a week. There was the open mic that my friend runs used to be on a Wednesday, and another one of my friends used to run one on Thursdays, but unfortunately he had to stop. This was pre-COVID. He stopped doing the ones on Thursdays, so that could have been my two that I would have been going to. And then the plan was then do one in Dublin on Thursdays. That was the original plan. But then obviously the pandemic hit and everything else, so there's no open mics. But hopefully when that opens up, I will do at least that one on Wednesday. I could do that every week because that runs every single week, and there's no problem. Like I said, one of my friends runs it. It's a lot of local talent are at it. It is an open mic, but it is musicians. But like I said, they're all people that I know. They're friends of mine, and it'd be interesting. I will definitely be doing that. So that'll be interesting in the future whenever that happens. Probably not soon, but most likely be later. But that's all for this week's episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next Tuesday.